Chosen one, pause for a moment, because this is not just another message finding you. This is a moment that has found you. Something has shifted in the unseen, and your name was part of that movement. You didn't notice it forming. You didn't announce it, but heaven did. And what was hidden inside you has now reached a level that cannot remain unnoticed any longer. There is a recognition taking place, not from the world, but from realms that observe what most never see. Anointed one, there are seasons where you struggle, and then there are seasons where you become. And what heaven is confirming right now is not what you went through, but what you became because of it. As it is written in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, there is a time for every purpose under heaven, and you have entered a time of revelation. If this message feels like it is speaking directly to something deep within you, it is not coincidence, it is alignment. Stay connected. And if you feel led, subscribe so you don't miss what is being revealed for your journey. Because what I am about to uncover will show you the power you have already mastered, and why everything around you is beginning to respond to it, or chosen. 1. There is something I need you to understand before anything else. What you are experiencing right now is not random, and it is not small. There are realms you cannot see that have been watching you far more closely than you realize, not to judge you, but to study you, not to condemn you, but to understand what has been forming inside you. Anointed one, while you were living your life, while you were going through moments that felt ordinary, heaven was recording something extraordinary. Every reaction you had when you were hurt, every silent decision you made when no one was watching, every internal battle you fought when you could have chosen bitterness, but didn't. These moments did not disappear, they were documented. And here is what makes your story different. Most people follow predictable patterns. When they are hurt, they hurt others. When they are betrayed, they close their hearts. When they are attacked, they become what attacked them. This is the cycle the world runs on. This is the system darkness depends on. It expects pain to reproduce itself, but you interrupted that pattern, chosen one. There were moments in your life where you had every reason to become cold, every justification to become distant, every excuse to respond with anger, to speak words that would have cut deep, to hold on to resentment, that would have slowly hardened your spirit. And yet, something inside you chose differently. You felt the pain. You were not immune to it. You knew what was happening was unfair. You saw the betrayal clearly. You carried the weight of it. But somewhere between what was done to you and what could have grown inside you, something shifted. You didn't become bitter. You became wiser. You didn't become hateful. You became more aware. You didn't shut down. You became more intentional. And you may not have realized it at the time, but that moment, that quiet internal shift, was not small. That was the moment heaven leaned in, because what you did was not normal human behavior. It was not something taught in a class. It was not something you practiced intentionally. It was something that formed through your endurance, through your restraint, through your refusal to become what hurt you. Chosen one, there is a law that operates both in the physical and spiritual realms. What is sent out must go somewhere. Pain, hatred, jealousy, negative intention, it does not disappear. Most people absorb it, carry it, and eventually pass it on. That is how cycles of suffering continue. But you did something rare. Instead of absorbing it and letting it poison you, you transformed it. You took what was meant to damage you and turned it into growth. You took what was meant to break you and turned it into awareness. You took what was meant to close your heart, and somehow your heart expanded. Instead, this is not weakness. This is not passivity. This is power. And heaven has a name for it, even if you never did. You have been operating in what can only be described as spiritual transmutation. The ability to receive something negative and change its nature before it defines you, not blocking it, not pretending it didn't happen, not deflecting it onto someone else, transforming it. Chosen one, Think back to recent months. Think about those situations that didn't make sense. Maybe it was someone who spoke against you behind your back. Maybe it was a moment where everything seemed to collapse at once. Plans failing, doors closing, relationships shifting without warning. And in those moments, something inside you processed it differently. You didn't spiral the way you used to. You didn't stay broken as long as you once would have. You didn't let it define your identity. You adapted. You learned. You grew. That is not coincidence. That is evidence. Anointed One, heaven saw that shift. Not just what happened to you, but how you handled what happened. Not just the external situation, but the internal response that no one else could see. And it was that unseen response that changed everything, because true power is not revealed in public moments. It is revealed in private decisions. The ones no one applauds, the ones no one records, the ones that feel invisible but are actually the most significant. There was a moment, maybe you don't even remember it clearly, where you were deeply hurt. Not slightly, uncomfortable, deeply wounded. And in that moment, you had two choices: become hardened or remain aligned with who you truly are. You chose alignment, even if it hurt, even if it cost you, even if no one ever knew chosen. That choice marked you. And from that point forward, something inside you changed. It became easier for you to process pain without becoming it. It became more natural for you to grow through situations instead of being consumed by them. You didn't just react differently, you became different. And this is why what is happening around you has started to shift. You may have noticed it. Things that used to affect you deeply now pass through you faster. Situations that once would have drained you no longer have the same power. Even the way people interact with you, it feels different. There is hesitation now. There is a strange distance from negativity that used to come easily. That is not your imagination. That is because what once could influence you can no longer control you. And this is where the revelation deepens, chosen one. Because what you developed was not just for survival. It was preparation. And what it is preparing you for is something far greater than what you have seen so far. Chosen one. Now we go deeper, because what has been forming inside you did not go unnoticed by darkness either. In fact, what you have developed has created a reaction in realms that were once confident in how to deal with you. There are systems, just as there are in heaven, that observe patterns. Darkness studies behavior. It tracks reactions. It builds strategies based on what usually works on people: fear, pressure, confusion, betrayal. These are not random tools, they are calculated, and for most people, those strategies work exactly as expected. But when it came to you, something stopped making sense. Anointed One. What was sent to weaken? You didn't weaken you the way it should have. What was meant to confuse, you didn't hold you in confusion. What was designed to break your momentum somehow ended up refining your direction. And at first, those forces assumed something external was protecting you. They thought maybe there was unusual intervention around you, maybe extra covering, maybe something outside of you was blocking what was sent your way. But when they studied more closely, they discovered something unsettling. The transformation wasn't happening around you, it was happening within you. Chosen one, you became the filter. You became the place where what was meant to harm you lost its original form. And that is what shifted everything. Because darkness knows how to attack. It knows how to manipulate. It knows how to distort and pressure. But there is one thing it cannot do. It cannot transform what is destructive into something higher. And yet you can. This is why there is a different kind of attention on your life now. Not just opposition, observation. Because what you carry cannot be easily understood. Anointed One. The reason this ability formed in you is not because you were trying to develop it. It formed because of what you chose when you were under pressure. It formed in the moments when you didn't react the way pain expected you to react. You remember those moments when someone said something that cut deeper than they realized, and you stayed silent. When you had the opportunity to expose someone and you chose restraint. When you could have responded with the same energy you received, but something inside you said, no. Those moments felt small at the time. They felt like private struggles, but each one was building something. Each one was shaping your internal world, layer by layer, decision by decision. You were being trained without realizing it. Chosen one. This is how mastery is formed. Not in one moment, but in many quiet ones. Not in public victories, but in private restraint. Not in what you said, but in what you chose not to say. And over time, something shifted. It stopped being something you had to think about. It became who you are. Pain enters and something in you immediately processes it. Negativity approaches and something in you automatically transforms it. You don't sit there deciding what to do the way you used to. It happens, and that is the difference between effort and identity. Anointed one. This is what has confused those watching you because they expected you to react based on the pressure applied. But your internal system no longer responds in predictable ways. And when something becomes unpredictable to darkness, it becomes difficult to control. That is why the energy around you feels different lately. There is hesitation now. There is a pulling back. Not because everything has stopped, but because what once worked no longer produces the same results. Chosen one, there is something else you need to recognize. Every time something was sent to drain you, it ended up strengthening you. Every time something tried to discourage you, it clarified your path. Every time something attempted to limit you, it expanded your awareness. Do you see it? What was meant to reduce you, refined you. What was meant to slow you down, prepared you. And now the very system that was meant to weaken you has unknowingly contributed to your growth. This is why things feel like they are shifting faster now, because you are no longer in the same position you once were. You are not responding from the same level. You are not processing life the same way. You have been elevated internally, and now your external world is starting to adjust to match it. Anointed one. Think about how quickly you recover now compared to before. Situations that would have held you down for months now move through you in days. Not because they don't matter, but because you process them differently. That is not emotional numbness. That is refinement. That is the evidence that what formed in you is now active. And here is something even more revealing. Have you noticed how certain people who came against you are no longer where they once were? Not because you fought them, not because you wished anything against them, but because what they sent did not land the way they intended. Instead, it returned altered. Chosen one. This is not about revenge. This is about reflection. When negativity cannot attach to you, it has to return to its source, but not in the same form. It returns as exposure, as consequence, as clarity. And you didn't have to do anything. That is the power you have been operating in. And there is one more sign you need to pay attention to. The way you now look at your past. There are things that once hurt you deeply that you now feel strangely grateful for. Not because the pain was good, but because of who it shaped you into. That shift in perspective, that ability to extract meaning from pain, is not normal. That is transformation at work. And the more you recognize it, the more you will begin to understand that what you carry now is not temporary. It is established, and it is only beginning to reveal its full impact. Chosen one, what you are stepping into now is not just awareness of what you have become, but recognition of what is unfolding around you because of it. There are signs, subtle but undeniable, that confirm this power is not theoretical. It is active. It is influencing your life in ways you may not have fully connected yet. Anointed one. One of the clearest signs is this: people and situations that once held access to your life are no longer able to stay. And what is strange is you didn't force it. You didn't always confront it. You didn't always make a dramatic decision to remove them. They simply faded. Conversations became distant. Connections weakened, opportunities that once seemed necessary quietly dissolved, and for a moment it may have confused you. You may have wondered if you did something wrong, if you missed something, if you should have held on tighter. But no, chosen one. This was alignment. Because when your internal frequency changes, what is not aligned with it cannot remain stable in your presence. Not through rejection, but through incompatibility. You are no longer resonating with what once felt normal, and that can feel lonely at times. There are moments where you look around and realize that certain people are no longer walking beside you the way they used to. Moments where silence replaces what was once constant interaction. And if you are honest, there were times it made you question your path. But hear this clearly, you didn't lose them. They could not stay. Because what you carry now creates an environment that requires a different level of alignment. And anything that cannot exist within that alignment will remove itself without needing confrontation. Chosen one. This is not isolation. This is refinement of your environment. And as this happens, something else begins to rise within you. A quiet anticipation. A sense that something is approaching, even if you cannot fully explain what it is. You feel it in moments of stillness. You sense it when things become unexpectedly calm. You notice it in the way your thoughts have started to shift, more forward, more focused, less attached to what was. That feeling, that inner knowing, is not imagination. It is perception. Because when you begin operating at this level, your awareness of what is forming ahead of you becomes more sensitive. You start to pick up on movement before it becomes visible, and right now, something is moving. Anointed one. There was a moment, quiet, unseen, deeply personal, where everything changed for you. Not outwardly, but internally. A moment where you were hurt in a way that could have reshaped your entire identity. No audience, no recognition, no external validation, just you and a decision. You could have allowed that moment to close you off, to harden you, to justify becoming someone more guarded, more distant, more reactive, and no one would have blamed you, but you chose something else. You chose not to let that moment define who you are. You chose not to let someone else's actions determine your internal state. You chose to remain aligned even while it hurt. Chosen one, that moment was seen, not by people, by heaven. Because it is written in 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, that what matters is not what is seen outwardly, but what is within the heart. And in that moment, your heart revealed something that cannot be taught, only proven. You demonstrated mastery, not perfection mastery. The ability to receive pain and not become it. The ability to experience darkness and not carry it forward. The ability to stand in the middle of something unfair and still choose who you are. That is rare. And that is why your life is now under a different kind of attention, because that moment, that quiet decision marked you. It changed what you are capable of handling. It changed what you can be trusted with. It changed what is now being prepared for you. There are things that cannot be given to someone who reacts emotionally to every situation. There are levels of influence, of responsibility, of impact that require stability, clarity, and internal strength. And you proved that you have it. Not when things were easy, when things were difficult. That is the only proof that matters. And now, because of that, something has shifted in how your path is being arranged. You may have already noticed it. Things that used to take a long time are beginning to move faster. Opportunities are appearing in ways that feel unexpected. Connections are forming without the effort you once had to put in. There is movement where there used to be delay. Chosen one. This is not coincidence. This is alignment, responding to readiness. Because when you demonstrate that you can handle pressure without losing yourself, you are no longer held in extended preparation. You are moved forward. And this movement may feel unfamiliar at first. You might question it. You might wonder if things are happening too quickly. But understand this. You are not being rushed. You are being released. because what once needed time to develop has already been established within you, and now your external world is catching up to your internal growth. 1. This is where many people hesitate, not because they are not ready, but because they are not used to things flowing. They are more familiar with resistance than with momentum. But you must not step back now. You must not slow down what has been set in motion, because what is unfolding is not just for you. It is connected to something greater. And in the next part you are going to understand exactly what you have been recognized as and why your presence is about to begin affecting more than just your own life or chosen one. Now you are ready to understand the weight of what you have become, because this is not just about surviving your past or navigating your present. This is about the identity that heaven has now placed upon you. There is a classification not given lightly, not assigned casually, but recognized through evidence. And this classification does not change with circumstance. It follows you. It defines how you operate, how you influence, and how you move through every environment you enter. Anointed one. You have become what can only be described as a stabilizing presence. This means something deeper than you may realize. It means you are no longer reacting to the environment around you. You are influencing it. Where there is confusion, your presence brings clarity. Where there is tension, your presence shifts the atmosphere. Where there is chaos, something about you begins to settle it. And you may have noticed this already, even in small ways. Walking into a room and sensing the energy immediately, being around people and feeling their emotional state without them saying a word, noticing how conversations change when you engage, how situations soften, how things begin to reorganize themselves. That is not coincidence. That is influence, chosen one. Everything in life operates at a certain level of alignment. Some operate in fear, some in pressure, some in uncertainty, but what you have developed allows you to remain steady even when everything around you is unstable. And when something steady enters something unstable, it begins to shift it, not through force, not through control, through presence. This is why your life has felt different recently, not just because things have changed, but because you have changed. The way you respond, the way you observe, the way you process it no longer matches the patterns you once followed. You are not pulled as easily into reactions. You are not as easily affected by the emotional state of others. You see things more clearly, you move more intentionally. That is stabilization. And heaven does not develop this in someone without purpose. Anointed one. There is a reason this had to form in you over time. A reason you had to go through situations that forced you to grow internally. Because what you now carry is not just for your own life, it is for the environments you are about to enter. There are spaces you are going to walk into where confusion is normal, where pressure is constant, where people are overwhelmed, uncertain, reactive, and you will not need to say much. You will not need to prove anything. Your presence will begin to shift things simply because of what you carry. Chosen one. This is how transformation begins at a higher level. Not always through instruction, but through demonstration. Not always through teaching, but through embodiment. People will notice something about you they cannot explain. They will wonder how you remain steady when everything around them feels unstable. They will observe how you process things differently, how you don't escalate situations, how you bring calm without trying. And in that observation, something will begin to change in them. This is influence beyond words. This is impact beyond effort. And this is why what you have developed matters so much, because the world you are stepping into is not becoming more stable. It is becoming more chaotic. There is more noise, more pressure, more uncertainty than before. People are searching for something steady, something real, something that doesn't shift with every circumstance. And you have become that. Not because you were trying to be, but because of what you chose in your hardest moments. Anointed one, understand this clearly. Heaven does not invest this level of development into someone to keep them in small spaces. Expansion follows recognition. And what has been recognized in you requires a wider reach. This is why you may start to feel a pull, a sense that you are meant for something more than where you currently are. A quiet awareness that your environment no longer fully matches what you carry. That is not dissatisfaction, that is alignment adjusting. Because when your internal capacity grows, your external environment must expand to match it. Chosen one, do not resist this. Do not shrink back into what feels familiar just because it is comfortable. Because comfort is not your assignment. Alignment is, and alignment will take you into spaces that stretch you not to overwhelm you, but to express what has been built within you. There is something else you need to understand as you step into this. What you carry is not just for personal success. It is service. Every time you process negativity and transform it, you are not just protecting yourself. You are preventing that negativity from spreading further. You are interrupting cycles that would have continued through others. You are acting as a filter. And this is more important than you realize, because every environment needs someone who does not amplify the chaos, but transforms it. And that is what you do now naturally. But there is a shift that must happen in your awareness. You must stop seeing this as something you just do and begin recognizing it as something you are. Because when you recognize it, you begin to use it intentionally. You stop avoiding difficult situations and start understanding your role within them. You stop seeing pressure as something to escape and start seeing it as something you can transform. You stop shrinking from responsibility and start stepping into it. Anointed one. This is where mastery becomes purpose. And in the next part, you are going to understand how to operate in this intentionally and why even the challenges ahead are not designed to stop you, but to expand what you are now capable of handling, chosen one. Now comes the part where everything becomes intentional. Up until now, much of what you developed happened without you fully realizing it. It formed through experience, through pressure, through decisions you made in moments that felt personal and isolated. But from this point forward, you are not meant to operate unconsciously anymore. You are meant to move with awareness, because what you carry is not just something that happens automatically. It is something you can now direct. In test 1. The first thing you must release is the instinct to protect yourself the way you used to. Not because protection is wrong, but because the way you once protected yourself is no longer aligned with who you become. There was a time when you had to guard everything. Guard your energy, guard your space, guard your peace by avoiding anything that felt heavy or negative. And that was necessary at that stage. But now, you are not just someone who avoids negativity. You are someone who transforms it. And there is a difference. Chosen one, when you constantly try to block everything you live in resistance. And resistance is exhausting. It drains you. It keeps you in a state of defense. But what you have now does not require constant defense. It requires trust. Trust that when something enters your space, it does not have the authority to remain in its original form. Trust that what reaches you must pass through you. And when it does, it will not leave the same. This does not mean you accept everything blindly. It means you no longer fear what once had power over you. Anointed one. The next shift is this. You must learn the power of the pause. There will be moments where something hits you unexpectedly, a word, a situation, a reaction from someone else. And your first instinct may still be to respond quickly, to defend yourself, to explain, to react. But in that moment, pause. Because the pause is where transformation happens. If you react immediately, you respond from what was given to you. But if you pause even for a second, you allow what you carry to process what you received. And when you respond after that, you are no longer responding from the original energy. You are responding from what you have transformed it into. That is power, chosen one. The next step is direction. Once something has been transformed within you, it does not just disappear. It becomes something usable, something that can be directed. Every challenge you face, every pressure point, every moment that tries to drain you is actually providing you with energy that can be redirected into your purpose, into your work, into your growth, into your focus. This is why it will begin to feel like the more you are challenged, the more you expand. Because nothing is being wasted anymore. Everything is being converted. Anointed One. This is where you begin to see something remarkable. The very things that were meant to slow you down begin to accelerate you. The very resistance that was meant to stop you begins to strengthen your movement. And suddenly what once felt like obstacles become resources. Chosen One. This is not just for you. You are not carrying this ability only for your own life. Every time you transform something negative, you are removing it from the cycle that would have continued through others. You are breaking patterns, you are interrupting chains, you are changing outcomes that would have repeated themselves again and again. This is service. This is purpose. This is why you had to go through what you went through. Because not everyone can do this. Not everyone can receive pressure and remain aligned. Not everyone can experience pain and still choose growth. But you have proven that you can. Anointed One, understand this clearly. The challenges that come next are not here to defeat you. They are here to expand you. There will be moments where the intensity increases, where situations feel heavier than before, where the volume of what you are processing seems higher, but do not mistake that for regression. That is expansion, because your capacity is increasing. The more you use what you carry, the stronger it becomes. The more you process, the more you are able to handle. The more you transform, the more you can influence. Chosen One, there may even be moments where things come through unexpected sources, people you trust, situations you didn't anticipate, and for a moment it may feel different, more personal, more difficult to process. But remember this: what you carry is not limited by where something comes from. It works regardless. And even when the challenge feels internal, thoughts, doubts, memories trying to surface, the same principle applies. Pause, recognize it, transform it, and redirect it. Anointed One, nothing that comes against you now is without purpose. Even what feels like pressure is preparing you. Even what feels like resistance is refining you. Even what feels like challenge is increasing your capacity, because you are no longer operating at the level you once were. You have crossed into something different, and now there is one final truth you must hold on to as you move forward. You are not becoming this. You already are. Chosen One, do not shrink back from that awareness. Do not downplay what has been built within you. Do not pretend to be less just to feel comfortable, because the world does not need you smaller. It needs you aligned. Walk forward, knowing that what comes will not break you. It will build you. Knowing that what approaches you will not drain you. It will be transformed through you. Knowing that what was meant to stop you has already failed. And now everything that follows will only reveal more of who you have become. Chosen One, receive this in stillness. What has been revealed to you today is not imagination, and it is not temporary. Heaven has seen what you have become even in the moments no one else witnessed. And now, you walk in a season where what was formed in silence will begin to speak without effort. Anointed One, you are not moving blindly. You are being guided. What is unfolding ahead of you has already been prepared, and every step you take is being aligned with purpose, not chance. Remain steady, remain aware,